Mexican Culture project worked by Cleo, me, Eliza, Opal, Maria, and Indira. Hello, we have the Mexican culture, and today we're going to be talking about health beliefs, birth and death practices, dietary considerations, communication practices, and ritual and traditions in Mexican culture. Alright, today I'm going to be talking about health beliefs and practices in Mexican culture. People in Mexico address their health issues in a religious view by thinking that their health problems are a will of God, kind of like everything happens for a reason. Mexicans also believe in folk healing, also known as curanderos, which are herbal remedies to treat their sickness, which usually consists of herbs, aromas, and rituals. For example, they use like garlic for hypertension or chamomile for nausea and anxiety. Curanderos are used to treat not only the mind but also the body as well. They also believe in what they call hot and cold sicknesses. A hot sickness is vasodilation and high metabolic rate. Diabetes is one example of that. And a cold sickness is vasoconstriction, and it's a low metabolic rate. And pneumonia, cramps is also an example. Cold conditions are treated with hot medication and vice versa for the hot conditions. They do this because they believe in spiritual balance.
So, birth and death practices in the Mexican culture. Views on pregnancy and birth. Pregnancy and birth are viewed as a natural and normal part of life in the Mexican culture. Since pregnancy is something that is seen as a natural phenomenon, women usually don't seek medical treatment immediately. Prenatal care. Prenatal care is not sought until later stages of pregnancy, and preference during pregnancy due to a sense of modesty. Generally, women prefer female healthcare providers. Custom, diets, and folk beliefs. Pregnancy cravings. In Mexican culture, it is believed that if a pregnancy craving is not met, that it will cause certain birthmarks on the child. Folk beliefs. In Mexican culture, it is believed that if pregnancy cravings are not met, the object in which the craving was not met will come through to your child. Diets during pregnancy. Women tend to stay away from milk because of the belief that it causes a larger child, which can also complicate birth. And then drinking chamomile is encouraged because it helps during the labor process. Postpartum. La cuarenta is 40 days are given to recuperate. Purgantes are home remedies are taken to rid the body of impurities after birth. Female-only assistance. Women will care for other women, and a child will only be cared for by the mother. And then showering. Showering is discouraged along with getting out of bed. And diets after birth, caldo de pollo, which is chicken broth, herbal teas, and tortillas. Mexican death practices. Customary death practices. Family tends to be involved with details of the funeral services. Family brings offerings of food and gifts to the mourning family, and the family mourns the deceased in a casket at home. Family includes personal belongings along with flowers in the deceased casket, and then souls are believed to live on after death. Dietary considerations within the Mexican culture. Popular types of foods consist of rice, beans, tortillas, corn, and meats. Using foods as a benefit in the Mexican culture. Mexicans are commonly diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. Foods are higher in protein and fiber. Foods are used as folk remedies for healing purposes, which include herbs, spices, and plants. All foods can be used to help promote healthier lifestyles.
Okay.
Like all cultures, Mexicans also have their own communication practices.
These practices are very important because we who do not belong to this culture needed to understand the culture and also to communicate effectively so that we do not offend anybody who belongs to that culture. All cultures, Mexicans also have their own culture communication practices, and we who do not belong to this culture need to know about it so that we can communicate with them effectively. Among those communication practices are abrazo. This is a traditional greetings used by Mexican males when they meet somebody that they know. It is characterized by a big hug, a slap on the back, and a firm handshake. Another communication practice with the Mexican community is openness. In conversations, Mexicans are very open about their private lives and their families. And as a result, they also expect people who they communicate with to do the same. Psst, psst. It's another way that the Mexicans use to communicate. When a Mexican is trying to gain attention of somebody else, they normally does the psst, psst sound to gain their attention. First names. When addressing a Mexican, one should never use their first name until they are in titles. To the Mexican, titles are important, and as a result, it is perceived as alright when somebody addresses them by their titles, even without their last names. Example, a physician is addressed as a doctor, and a professor is used to address a teacher. Other ways to address a Mexican includes using professional titles like Mrs., Mr., or Miss. In Spanish, it is called Señora, Señorita, and Señor. Surnames. Hispanics are generally known to use two surnames. One of the surnames is from the father, the other is from the mother. It is especially advised for people to use the surnames that are from the father when they are addressing a Mexican. A red ink is never used to write a name of a Mexican person. Conversational topics. Good conversational topics that are recommended to be used when conversing with a Mexican include Mexican culture, history, and museums. Topics that should never be used in conversations are American-Mexican War, poverty, illegal aliens, and earthquakes. During conversations, people stand much closer to each other in the Mexican community and have far stronger eye contact than in many other cultures. Personal spaces might be viewed as being offensive or unfriendly. Communicating indirectly. Mexicans tend to communicate in indirect and subtle ways that are diplomatic and non-confrontational. The use of notes. Lastly, Mexicans also disguise their notes in the responses they give to look like a maybe or we'll see, so as to maintain harmony and avoid conflict with the person they are conversing with.
Go.
Rituals and traditions in the Mexican culture are very rich. The use of bold and vibrant colors can be seen in every occasion. Most celebrations incorporate music, food, song and dance, and of course, family and friends. Dia de los Muertos, or Day of the Dead, is a celebration or the unity of the living and the dead. The use of candles, food, music, and skulls made out of candy decorates altars that family members make in honor of their deceased loved ones. Cinco de Mayo is another important holiday. The fight against the French Revolution back in 1862 is always celebrated with food, music, and song and dance. Other important celebrations include the Posada, the Three Kings Day, Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, Mother's and Father's Day, and of course, weddings. Weddings is another great example of the deep-rooted rituals in the Mexican culture. The use of the lazo, padrinos, mariachi band, and the coins or money that is exchanged between the groom and his new bride are seen in every Mexican wedding. The nursing role in caring for Mexican people. It is always good to remember that Mexican people are soft-spoken, and it is okay to avoid direct eye contact when talking with an authority figure. Touch and pointing is perceived as disrespectful, and silence is a form of not agreeing with what is being said. Always greet with señor, señora, or señorita. Use formal names unless permission was given to address them by their first names. And also note that family members may stand when someone enters the room.
There are some issues that are potentially encountered with healthcare by the Mexican culture due to their cultural beliefs. They are the highest number of uninsured in America, and they also use and receive less preventative health care. They also have a language barrier of using Spanish, and there are less interpreters that are available in the healthcare setting sometimes. They have natural support systems that are encouraged in their culture, such as folk healers. It attributes disease to 4 causes, which are hot and cold imbalances in the diet, dislocation of internal organs, magical sources, and emotional states. In American healthcare, sometimes these methods aren't the first choice for evidence-based practice, but it should be embraced if trying to break the barrier of providing the best health care. Illnesses that are sometimes associated with their culture are social or environmental causes. In American healthcare, more reasons are expressed for being able to cause illness, not just the social or environmental causes that they believe. And also in their culture, the cure's role is thought of as kind and understanding. And in American healthcare, sometimes the healthcare provider is looked at as more of an advisor or efficient and a clinical authoritarian, so being more factual. So one thing that we can do to break forward with that is more caring and empathetic response to the patient. So in conclusion, we have covered knowing more about the Mexican culture, which will help increase better health care for this group. We've covered health beliefs and practices, the birth and death practices, communication practices, rituals or traditions that are used, what's the nurse's role in helping this culture, and potential issues that are encountered by this culture with health care. When considering these aspects, we will help increase better health care for the Mexican community. Thank you for your time.